Good afternoon and welcome to the joint hearing of the Committees on Hawaiian Affairs and Labor, Culture, and the Arts in your Hawaii State Senate. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss the outstanding business. And that'll be on Thursday, March 24, 1 p.m. in room 16 for Hawaiian Affairs. And a public notice will be posted. For testifiers participating remotely, your audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it's your turn to testify. I'll be reading a list of individuals who submitted written testimony for each measure. We apologize if the closed caption doesn't accurately transcribe the names. If you're interested in reviewing the written testimony, please go to the legislature's website to find a link to the status page for the measure. So we just have one on our joint agenda, one bill, HB 2475 HD1, relating to state holidays. Establishes July 31 of each year as HWN-LCA. Okay.
Just also, Committee on Labor, we also reconvene if there's a technical difficulty at the same time.
Okay. Great. Yes, and thank you so much to Senator Taniguchi for being here to chair the LCA committee. So first up, we have Department of Accounting and General Services in support. So thank you.
Chairs, Vice Chair. Representing DAGS, I am Dr. Adam Jansen, and I have the honor of serving as State Archivist and Administrator of the Public Archives. We stand on our testimony, and as an archivist, I cannot overstate how excited we are about this. This is unquestionably one of the most historic events in Hawaii's history that launched it preeminently on the world stage. As the Public Archives, we have a phenomenal wealth of documentation of the correspondence of all of the events leading up to this. It's the beginning of land tenure as we know it in Hawaii, the politics, the ambassadors that got sent to the world stage. We firmly stand in belief that this would be a great teachable moment to really energize the keiki about their history and how it came about. So we thank you for considering this bill, and we'll be available if you have any questions.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it. HGEA in support. City and County of Honolulu, Department of Human Resources with comments. Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies opposition. Regina Gregory in support. Anyone else here for HB 2475? Seeing none members, any questions? Okay. And actually, I think we conferred earlier. I think we're ready. I don't think we need a breakout room.
I just need to wait for a quorum.
Okay. Okay.
Could you wait a
But we
couple
can-
minutes?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. So we are recessed then? Okay. We'll recess for a bit then. Okay, we're gonna gavel back in. While we're waiting for the LCA committee to get quorum, we're going to do a decision making for a deferred matter for Hawaiian Affairs. This was House Bill 1179 that we actually heard it was yesterday. So this is House 1179, and it's related to invasive species, establishes pilot program within Aina Mauna Legacy Program of DHHL to remove and harvest gorse from Mauna Kea and develop it as a marketable product to expand economic opportunities for Native Hawaiians. The CAR supports the legislature and appropriates funds. So recommended is to pass as is, and we want to summarize the opposing testimony concerns raised in the committee report. So Hawaiian members, any concerns or questions about HB 1179? No. Okay, seeing none, then Vice Chair for the vote, please.
Members voting on HB 1179 HD1, the chair's recommendation is to pass this measure unamended. Chair Shimabukuro.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Ihara is excused. Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna adjourn from that agenda. Hawaiian Affairs LCA agenda.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then we are going to now go back into our 1 o'clock agenda. This is on HB 2475 related to state holidays. Establishes July 31st of each year as Loho'iho'i'ea. And after having conferred that we're going to recommend, yes, that we just pass technical amendments. We're going to further defect the date to July 1, 2050 and make other technical amendments. Okay, any questions or concerns, members? Okay, seeing none, then Vice Chair for the vote.
Members voting on HB 2475 HD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. With 4 members present and Senator Ihara excused, are there any reservations? Any no votes? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
For the Committee on Labor, Culture and the Arts, same recommendation, pass with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator Chang is also excused. Senator Keokalole.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Senator Ihara, you are excused? No. You're supposed to take the vote. No.
I'll put that.
Okay, so Senator Ihara, recommendations are adopted.
Okay, very good. Okay,
Okay.
so we are adjourned for that joint agenda. Okay, we're gaveling into the 101 agenda. This is the joint committees on Hawaiian Affairs and Water and Land in the State Senate. I've already done the housekeeping announcement, so I think we'll just go right into the business. So we have just one measure, House Bill 2135, related to historic preservation reviews. Allows DHHL to assume historic preservation review of the effect of any proposed state project for lands under its jurisdiction under certain conditions and subject to certain exceptions for state projects affecting properties listed or nominated for inclusion in the Hawaii Register of Historic Places or the National Register of Historic Places or located in the designated historical district. Okay, so first up, we have DHHL in support.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members of both committees, Tyler Gomes, deputy to the chairman. On behalf of DHHL, I just want to emphasize DHHL's request to remove the sunset date in conformance with the Senate companion. Beyond that, we'll stand on our written testimony and support.
Thank you so much. Okay, then we have the Hawaii State Ahamoku in support. Wow.
Aloha Chair,
Aloha.
Pearl, Chair, Inouye, members of the committees. Hawaii State Ahamoku stands in support, but I'd like to just bring a concern that was brought to our attention. The concern is that while we fully support Hawaiian homes and its beneficiaries, the very nature of the Hawaiian homes is that the Hawaiians are awarded lands based on a chronological waiting list. Those beneficiaries who receive lots do not necessarily come from the lands that are awarded and therefore do not know the specific natural and cultural resources of the specific place they live on. Oftentimes, their wants and needs conflict with the wants and needs of generational families at the same site. We believe that the proposed historic preservation professional, in addition to having the knowledge of at least archaeology, history, historic architecture, or architectural history, must also know and learn the traditional usage of the site and to take steps to protect culturally significant areas if they exist on proposed and or existing Hawaiian homelands. This actually came about from our people in Kona. Apparently, there's going to be a proposed Hawaiian homeland subdivision in Kealakekua. So the families from Ka'awaloa and Kealakekua are concerned that their traditional and sacred areas, gathering places within that ahupua'a is going to be impacted by beneficiaries who are awarded the lots but know nothing about the place itself. So we ask that the professional historic preservation officer be mandated to acquire traditional knowledge of each of the sites that they're going to be working on. Thank you for your consideration for our comments. And other than that, we rest on our testimony of support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mate. DLNR Shifty in support.
Aloha chairs, Vice Chairs, member of the committee, member of the committees. I'm Alan Downer. I'm the administrator of the State Historic Preservation Division, and we stand in support of this and stand in our testimony. I'll be happy to answer any questions afterwards.
Thank you. Historic Hawaii Foundation, opposition. Society for Hawaiian Archaeology, opposition. Kimoana Kane, comments. Anyone else here for HB 2135? Seeing none, members, any questions? Oh, yes, Senator Misabuchi.
DHHL, please. Aloha.
Aloha.
So there were concerns raised that DHHL does not have the qualified staff, subject matter expertise, appropriate administrative framework. And I know you're going to get some staffing, but there's concern about that, you're just not going to be able to ramp up soon enough. Would you kindly address those concerns and whether you agree or disagree, or is there any amendment that needs to be inserted that could provide you the support that you need?
I would disagree that the department's not prepared or lacks qualified staff to do so. The bill was modeled after an existing structure that exists within DLNR, so there's already precedent for the department to do it. But more than that, the department has long-standing history in each of these places, which means it has access to many resources in order to make sure that its staff are fully qualified. So in terms of an unpreparedness by the department, I would disagree with that, and I'd say that we have the capacity to do so.
Is there anything that could be done to shore up some confidence that would enable you to transition quick enough? So are you saying that from day one, you're like all ready?
I mean, that's a matter of being able to get the right staff person on board, right? So we have to hire that person. Ideally, in the qualifications for the hiring, that person would have the appropriate qualifications. So I'd say from day one of making sure, from day one of having the hire start, in theory, we should be prepared to go.
Have you done any, at least preliminary touch bases with SHPE to enable the smooth turnover?
We have, yes. And I think without speaking for SHPE, previous conversations have occurred between Chair and Mr. Downer, and I think that there is also a good relationship there to make sure that this transition is not an issue for the department.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, for DHHL, it was brought to my attention, and I haven't had an opportunity or a chance to continue looking into a matter. I understand, or I've been told that EVs, EV kupuna, and anything related to EV, there's a mandate or some part of a rule that's under the jurisdiction of OHA. And so, and maybe Dr. Downer can answer if he's aware of it. But it was brought to my attention again. I didn't have time to look into it. So DHHL, are you familiar with the process?
I apologize, Senator. I am not immediately familiar with a provision that's specific to OHA. I know that there are some matters that require consultation with OHA, but I would perhaps defer to Dr. Downer to see if he's aware of it, because I am not.
Okay. Then Dr. Downer, are you still there?
Okay, yes, I am. Hang on a
Oh,
second.
okay. All right. Dr. Downer, I'm not sure if you heard me, but I've been told that anything related to EV rests under the jurisdiction of OHA. And I didn't have an opportunity to deep down into it because it was just brought to my attention. And so are you aware of OHA's responsibility, or if the rules calls for it, jurisdiction or whatever? And also, when a development comes to your attention, and I know like in the private sector, not related to public lands, such as Kaka'ako, whatever, I know that you, one part of your rules are that whenever there's a development, anyone who has, anyway, a cultural person has to be there throughout the development. And I'm wondering if where OHA plays in this role that I addressed.
Okay, Madam Chair, so dealing with, there are sort of two broad categories of burials that are covered by the statute. One is referred to as previously identified, and the previously identified burials, decisions about whether they're left in place or how they'll be protected or relocated, those decisions are made by the various island burial councils. When a burial is not previously identified but discovered during development, or for example in some sort of a flood event or what have you, then those inadvertent discoveries are they're dealt with by SHPD staff, and during the process of decision making, we consult with any identified descendants, with the burial council member who is from that particular area, and also with OHA. So OHA has a
role in it.
They have a right to be consulted, but they don't, decision making in those instances rests with SHPD.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes. Chair, Senator Pasio. Okay. Tyler Gomes, DHHL. Could you give some feedback as to how you folks would deal with conflict of interest or perceived conflict of interest in terms of, the historic preservation review and developing a certain property?
I think, I'm going to speak generally, but I think that there's always an opportunity for conflict, but what has to be balanced here is the fact that the department and the commission have a trust obligation to the beneficiaries of the land. And I think that's sort of the countervailing balance point that keeps the department and the commission, I'd say, fair-minded to the interests of all. So I without, maybe if there's a more specific conflict you're pointing to, I think, largely the department has the fiduciary responsibility to ensure fairness and parity. So that part does not concern me, but if there's a specific conflict that you're thinking of, maybe I could help address that more specifically.
So I guess I'm more talking about, for example, the Constitution, the 6E provisions in the Constitution, and how you also that has to be upheld, but yet the conflict between that and what you mentioned, the fiduciary responsibility to the beneficiaries in providing housing. Are you following? So that conflict where you're now going to be oversight on, the implementation of this historic preservation review, and yet, and that this kind of does tie back into the questions around, who would be responsible in the department for the review process and the perhaps, again, perceived lack of, or not lack of qualifications, but because you did address that in responding to Senator Mesalucha, but just the conflict between upholding that 6E requirements and what is embedded in the Constitution in protecting iwi kupuna compared to also your duty under Act, Hawaiian Homes Commission Act to serve the beneficiaries. And there's,
Sure, I think I understand you.
Yeah, potential conflict in that. So I'm not referring to a specific development. Go ahead.
I think the statutory language that takes us back to state historic preservation really is the guiding factor here. So even if there was reported conflict between the department's, internal interest and being its own self-approver, the SHPD guidelines and the statutory link there should be that should rectify your concerns, right? Because we still have an obligation under the statute to comply with the regulations.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Got
have
it. Thank you.
follow-up.
Yes, Senator Yuhara.
What if there was a conflict? You're at a critical point in the construction of development, Hawaiian homeland development, Is there a way to recuse or a way to turn over the files to a neutral party who does not have a conflict? Because the conflict would be, on the one hand, you have a responsibility to treat the burials with the amount of respect they're due, and different from that is a separate interest, which is to build needed, very, very needed housing. So in that kind of a situation, I mean, if I were you, I mean, I would want to give it to another party in order to preserve some level of confidence in those maybe narrow situations where it may not come to that, but in the extreme situation, what do you do? So I don't know if there's a way to let us say you want it out and didn't want to be put in a position. What would you do? Who would you give it to? Or would you just say, well, we'll just suck it up and flip a coin or whatever? I know you won't do that, but it's still, so anyway, that's the question. What if you got into an extreme situation of a conflict, would you want to have a neutral party review it and make the decision, or as an option?
I understand what you're asking. I mean, speaking out of ignorance here, because I don't know the process that well, I'd imagine that DLNR probably, if at all, has encountered a similar problem. So I don't know what they've done, but we'd probably take a look at that. But if there was not an answer there, and I think that some level of cooperation with either SHPD and or the island burial councils as a party who's already experienced in doing this, and maybe without the conflict, that might be the way for us to recuse ourselves. I just don't know if there's an inherent mechanism in the way this is worded that automatically allows for it. Maybe there is, and DLNR uses that from time to time. I just don't know, Senator. I apologize.
Thank you.
All right, other questions? Okay. Yep, then we can just,
Go
okay.
right in.
Okay, so the chairs had discussed this prior to the having this hearing, and so we want to recommend and open for discussion that we adopt the recommendations from DHHL, and that, in your testimony, you stated you prefer the Senate language from SB 3103. So we want to insert the Senate language into this bill and any technical amendments that might also accompany. Any questions or concerns, members?
I would
Yes.
want
Senator
to,
Hart.
what Tyler was maybe presuming or thinking it might already be in the statutes, where there may be an opportunity, should they elect to
Mhm.
turn it over to whoever.
Yeah,
That may already be the case, as we might, but I don't know if we can find that out, and if not,
Can we
then,
do that in the committee report?
yeah, you can do that.
that's a
And
good
then,
idea
Yeah.
to
and
definitely mention that.
then, and then it'll give us time to research
Yeah.
and,
Okay,
all right.
good idea. Good idea. We'll put that in the committee report. Anything else?
Would there be,
Yes.
would
Senator
there
Rubio.
be any review or any higher authority within SHPD as part of that appeals process, or if there was should they have that as the ultimate kind of review? It says that administrative rules will be established, but I'm just wondering if we
But I-
shouldn't be clear on that.
But I think the statute already is clear that this issue belongs with SHPD. So they're involved
But if
with
they're
it from the
delegating it,
beginning.
but if they're delegating it to DHHL,
Yeah,
I'm
but
just curious if there is a
But I
appeal
think
or.
this bill is only with regards to historic preservation lands. So SHPD is always involved. As you heard, I think you did mention that as well. The responsibilities still rest with
But
SHPD.
specific to the authority that
So
we're
we're not
delegating here.
divorcing, are we giving up everything in this bill to DHHL? But
Maybe we could ask Mr. Downer.
yeah,
just to
because
clarify.
Okay,
I think it's just a
I
certain.
guess Dr. Donner, if
portion.
you could clarify?
It's not, I think they were
Oh, is
muted. No,
Okay.
So I'm sorry if kind of making us go backwards here, but I just wanted to be clear, is there an appeals process, or would you specifically, or, would SHPD ultimately have a review authority over this decision that you would be delegating to DHHL?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. I think it depends on what you're thinking of. When it comes to burials, burials are treated under 6043, not 68. So what we're really talking about here, 68, is the review of state projects. So when it comes to, for example, addressing the identification, evaluation, and assessment of effects to archaeological sites, or potentially to historic buildings, that would be delegated to DHHL. When it comes to burials, that would still be covered under the existing HARs that deal with the burial councils and with the treatment of inadvertent discoveries.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Include that in the committee report if you can, Alex. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, very good. Any other questions or concerns?
I guess just as a follow-up on that one, Mr. Downer, if you could just in summary, what is that review? So the review of state projects.
Okay, so you mean under 68?
Yeah, yes.
68 review. So the agency is required to determine whether or not there are known historic properties in a project area, and historic properties broadly means, archaeological sites, buildings, and a couple other categories of things. And then, if they are there, or if there isn't enough information to determine there are any there, they have to do an identification effort. And as a result of that identification effort, they evaluate any historic properties that are present. They assess whether or not those will be affected by the project, and then make a determination about what measures should be implemented to avoid, minimize, or mitigate effects.
Okay, and just curious on that one, is the evaluation include maybe oral testimony or such from lineal descendants? Just curious.
So, yeah, I mean, the agency, part of the identification effort is that an agency should be consulting with anybody that they have reason to believe might be knowledgeable about the presence of historic properties. So that could be lineal descendants, it could be knowledgeable people living in the community, whether they're descendants or not, or it could be something who's sort of a local historian, if you will.
Got it. Okay, thank you for answering. Thank you,
All
Chair.
right, thank you. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none, then Vice Chair, if you could take the vote, please, for one.
Oh, okay. Okay, members voting on HB 2135 HD2, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair Shimabukuro.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Ocasio.
Reservations.
Senator Ihara.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. Recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the Committee on Water and Land, same recommendation. Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2135 House Ref 2 as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none, members. Senator Misalucha for the vote. Thank you.
For committee
Chair
on,
goes aye.
for the Committee on Water and Land, members, we are deliberating, or we are voting on HB 2135 HD2. Chair recommends pass with amendments. Chair votes aye. Senator Agaran is excused. Senator Misalucha votes aye. Senator Riviere.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank
We are
you.
adjourned.
Okay, welcome everyone to the 103 agenda for the Joint Committee with Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. Senator Shimabukuro has already gone through the formalities, so we'll just go straight to testimony on HB 1870. This is relating to Judiciary's Olelo Hawaii initiative, appropriates funds for a program coordinator and various services to support the Judiciary's Olelo Hawaii initiatives. We don't have anybody on Zoom or in person, so we have Debbie Tulong da Silva for the Judiciary and support, Craig Harai, Director, Budget and Finance with comments, Kenneth Kaufman, PhD, Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies in Opposition, Office of Hawaiian Affairs in support, Dana Keave in support, Fenton Kale Pang, PhD in support, Jennifer Azuma Krupelik in support, and Ona Kane in support. No one to ask questions of, so let's see what we had for. So to restore the appropriation amount, okay, so the recommendation would be to restore the appropriation amount of $300,000 total with $100,000 designated for a program coordinator and $200,000 for implementation, and we'll make it effective on July 1, 2022. Okay.
Any questions or discussions?
Questions or concerns for judiciary members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members voting on HB 1870 HD2 passing with amendments. Chair votes
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Lee is excused. Senator Favela is excused. Recommendation adopted.
Hawaiian Affairs, same recommendation, same Vice Chair.
Members passing with amendments. Chair Shimabukuro.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye again. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Ihara is excused. Senator Favela is excused. Recommendation adopted.
Great, thank
you.
you. Oh, wow, that was really short and sweet.
We're adjourned.